Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful Podcast. We got a massive show for you today. The Miami Dolphins are on a two-game winning streak, but at the same time, they're facing some of the biggest franchise decisions in years. Today, we're going to break it all down, exactly what will shape this team's future. And joining me is the one and only Mr. DouglieDoWrong. You know him on his own YouTube show, one of the top Dolphin content creators. You catch him on The Collective, on Torrin Armstead show, and he's all over the place. Let's get into it, Doug. Thanks, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, nice holiday week kicking off. We got Thanksgiving in a couple days. So I'm thinking let's start a little positive because there's plenty to be negative, but I'm feeling in a positive mood. Dolphins are on a two-game winning streak, obviously. Is this sustainable? What have you seen actually won 3 out of 4. What have you seen that's kind of clicked and these last few games? And do you think this is kind of sustainable, or is this just a pocket of hope?
I think that Bills game is probably the most impressive win, but then you see the Bills lose to the Texans, and you're like,
is it real?
Yeah, exactly. And then the way we played against Washington, yeah, we won the game, but very easily could have lost that game. So it's a positive because they chained it together, but I need to see a little bit more because we saw this last year when they went 2-6 and then they, started fighting back and then ended up going 8-9. A lot of it entailed the run game, the defense, the secondary played sound, especially against Buffalo. Tua was a little bit more limited with his turnovers, so I need to see more continuity, especially from Mike McDaniel and his play calling and his time management and all that other stuff.
Yeah. And this is the second time. Shout out to everybody in the chat, guys. Make sure you hit that little thumbs up and the little bell. It takes a second. We got DouglieDoWrong here breaking it all down. Shout out to Fin Spin, Lo-Fi. You mentioned that they started last year was 2-6. This year's 2-7. To me, Doug, this is a reflection on the coaching staff. Why does it take too long? Why does it take 8-9 games for the second year in a row? This is a big reflection to me on the coaching staff more than the personnel, right?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people want to give Mike another shot and kind of put a lot of the blame on Chris Greer, who's not here anymore. But it's a two-headed thing. We did the same thing in 2021 where we fired Flores, but we didn't fire Greer. And now are we really going to fire Greer and not fire McDaniel? If you're going to try to do it right and you're going to try to restart and refresh, you got to get rid of them both. And, Mike McDaniel's a fantastic offensive-minded coach, but he's still struggling with head coaching things that he's been struggling with in 2022. So, I understand wanting to give him another shot, and I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility that it does come back, but it's like, how much longer are you going to wait and see for him to finally figure out what to do as a head coach?
Yeah, I agree. And we'll get into Mike, but what are you looking for these next 6 games? They don't have a tough schedule. I think they have the 5th easiest schedule left. They got these next 2, especially the Saints and the Jets, and then you even look at the Bucs down the road with Baker's injury. What are you looking for these next 6 games with the team, and kind of how realistic? I mean, we could be doing this all over again. Kind of the worst place to be, but what are you looking for these next 6? Is it just the wins and losses, or more of what can we take forward next year, or are you even evaluating Mike?
So, Miami could still go 10-7 and miss the playoffs because there are teams out there like the Chargers, like the Jaguars, like the Bills, the Chiefs. All these teams have easy schedules coming up. And if the Dolphins end up being in a 4-way tie at 10-7, they move ahead of Buffalo, which is nice. We would essentially push Buffalo out of the playoff spot, but I think we'd be like the 8th seed, so we would just miss the playoffs. So for me, wins and losses, it's all fine and dandy, and I know people want to tank essentially and lose the next 6 games, so we have a higher draft pick, and then there are a portion of the fan base that wants to, hey, at least get in. For me, I'm going to look at what Mike McDaniel does. Is he continue with the success that won him the games? Does he stick with the run? Does he make the right decisions? Does he stick with this, 6 offensive linemen? And then the players, you kind of watch the players that you could build around, like Patrick Paul, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, the rookies on the D line, and Phillips and Grant. What does the secondary look like? Because obviously Juju Brents is hurt, who was, that one game against Buffalo and the half a game against Washington. He was a guy that was intriguing to us. But the rookies in the secondary, you're going to watch them and see who we can build with, and then see what's going to happen there. So for me, I'm obviously going to be rooting for wins over the games, but a lot of it's going to be just assessing what we have, and is there something to build off of, and should they keep Mike? He's coaching for his job. The 6 games he's coaching for his job. To me, the only way I keep him is if they make the playoffs, and that is a hard thing to do. And a lot of people last year blamed Tua's injury. People this year are blaming more injuries, but he has to help build a better team. Chris Greer was getting him his players. So it's a two-headed thing. You fire the GM, you should fire the head coach, and vice versa. So
that's a whole subject we can get into here in a minute. But you mentioned it, the whole fan base. There's this whole debate, right? Winning or losing. I mean, I kind of looked at the bigger picture on one of my shows, and I kind of had to duck. I started getting heat from some of the fan base, but I call it we have pockets of hopium, right? Because you know why? The foundation is never constructed right, and but there is talent on this team, high-end talent. So what happens is when you get a strong opponent, or let's put it, kind of a strong gust of wind, the foundation can't hold up because it wasn't built correctly. And to me, it depends what your standards are. It's always fun to win. All of us who cover this team want this team to win. We want them to have a shot at the Lombardi. It's where are your standards just winning 9 or 10 games? But I think, and I understand people's point, I think the fear is what comes with the winning, or like you said, winning 10 games and just missing the playoffs. What comes with it? Because it seems to me that Ross, I don't know if you agree, Ross really wants every reason to keep Mike. At least publicly, it's what it seems like. And I think all of us, and you would agree, the direction this team needs to go is probably now with Mike McDaniel at the head of it. And they're at a crossroads here. So how do you go about the whole winning, losing, and handling it even on your show?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk out there, especially from like Ian Rappaport and some of these other guys that say, oh, there's a possibility, ifs and this and that with Mike McDaniel. The people making that decision aren't just Stephen Ross and Garfinkel anymore. Supposedly his daughter and his son-in-law are also incorporated in some of these decisions, because those are the ones who are going to be taking over when he eventually steps down, because he's not getting any younger. He comes out with this letter, and obviously the Dolphins wrote the letter, and he probably just stamped his name on the bottom of it.
That was ready like a month in advance. You can tell they had that ready to
go. And the continuity and status quo is not good enough, and blah blah blah. The prime example of status quo is going 2-6 2 years in a row. And like I said, Mike McDaniel gets fired, he's going to be an assistant. He's going to be an offensive coordinator in a heartbeat. Like, that man is going to be snatched up. Someone said that if Saleh gets the head coaching job with the Tennessee Titans, Mike McDaniel is going to be the offensive coordinator, and he's going to work with Cam Ward. And all of a sudden, you're going to have Dolphin fans be sitting there like, oh, look what he's doing with Cam Ward, and look how good that Tennessee Titans offense is. And yeah, like I said, as an offensive coordinator and offensive mind, he's fantastic. It's, you got to be able to coach a whole team and time management and all that stuff. So, going 10-7 is all fine and dandy, but again, we're tired, and I get the pushback on this, but if you're tired of being mediocre, sometimes you just got to keep swinging for the fence, and eventually you'll hit the home run. Same thing with the quarterback position. Oh, who are you going to replace them with, and who are you going to draft, and you got to keep trying. You've seen teams that have tried and tried and tried, and then they hit. Buffalo, how many quarterbacks did they draft before they got Josh Allen? So it's one of those situations where, do you sit and stay with Mike McDaniel because it's comfortable and because he's a good offense coordinator and you're afraid of losing him to another team? Or do you continue to try to find the next John Harbaugh, who was a special teams coordinator and ended up winning multiple Super Bowls with the Baltimore? Like, do you want to win Super Bowls and be consistently fighting for the number one seed? Or do you want to constantly be like, next year? Hey, if next year, like that's what the Dolphins are. And you got to swing for the fences. So,
yeah, it's kind of the thing is what the half measure they always take, right? That's why this is so confusing. I mean, honestly, I go back and forth, Doug, about whether McDaniel's coming back, whether Champ Kelly's kind of staying this year, or was this the plan all along when they got Champ in? It's just, first let's get into how surprised were you to see Greer kind of go before McDaniel? Because I thought one of them would go, maybe both. Were you surprised it was Greer first?
I was like 50-50 because my thought process once we hit 0-3 was you got to fire Greer and then you have to let the new GM decide what he wants to do with McDaniel, not realizing that you really can't hire a GM until the season's pretty much over. So, I kind of was surprised, but it had to have happened after such a blowout loss to the Cleveland Browns. Was it the Browns or was it the Ravens? It was one of those blowout losses that I think it was the Ravens game.
The Ravens, yeah.
Yeah, it had to happen. It was your third blowout loss. You got blown out by the Colts. You got blown out by the Browns. It had to have happened. And Stephen Ross had to sacrifice somebody for the fan base. And it was Chris Greer. And it was somebody that has been with this organization for 25 years, has been in charge of the organization as the GM for the past 9 years, and it had to have been done. And it was a little shocking, but then at the other hand, it wasn't. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's not happening anytime soon."
But because of the whole lawsuit, I thought I know a certain colleague of yours always would talk about the whole lawsuit thing, and that's why it'll never happen. But I was like, if that's really going on, this is Stephen Ross. He's built empires. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I mean, if that's what was going on, then we had more problems. But I was surprised it was Greer. It was that national. Yeah, go ahead.
If you realize, right? So this is, I forgot who told me this, but I perked up when I heard this. He didn't get fired, right?
Oh yeah,
it was a mutual parting of ways. So yeah, exactly. So he's still getting paid, and don't be shocked. Now it's never going to come out, but don't be shocked if they were like, "Look, let's just mutually part ways. It's not working. Yada yada. Let's do this for the fans. Blah blah blah. We're going to give you all your money that you signed in the contract, but we need you to sign this NDA." And then he signed it, and they parted ways. Like, don't be surprised, because if they fired him, then he's probably like,
that's true. That's a great point. So he probably, he didn't lose any money in this deal. Like, he's probably sitting at home collecting the same amount of paycheck, maybe even more. That's a great point. You made and you mentioned that was the Ravens game when it was a bad look on national team. It wasn't like the paper bags over the head. Like, they had to do something. Do you think Ross thinks it's more just? Do you think he likes Mike better, or do you think Ross thinks, okay, this is more of a personnel issue, not a coaching issue? Does he really believe that? You think? I mean,
I think it's two things, right? Because if you notice when the season started, or even the free agency started, Chris Greer in his presser kind of tried to take the blame off of himself, saying, I need to be more assertive. I need to stop being accommodating these head coaches, essentially, trying to put it out there that, look, whatever is the problem with the offense, I was doing what the head coach wanted to do. I did it with Gase. I did it with Flores. And I'm doing it with Mike McDaniel, which he's not wrong. Because if you remember, Mike McDaniel came out and said, if I could every year, I'd draft a pass rusher in the first round. He likes his short, fast receivers. And that's what the Dolphins consistently went after. Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, and then Malik Washington, Taj Washington, Tyreek Hill. They never really focused on the offensive line. They were bottom third or third from the bottom in the NFL in cap spending on offensive line and draft capital on offensive line. So, him dropping that little Easter egg, letting us know
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to be more assertive this year. Kind of put that out there. But I also think that, I forgot who said it. I think it was Albert Breer said that, if the chattering around the NFL is like, oh, Mike McDaniel's a fantastic offensive coordinator, and Mike McDaniel,
Yeah.
and a lot of the owners are talking so highly of Mike McDaniel and his mind and his genius, and as Stephen Ross is like, I don't want to let that go. Plus, he also just paid him, right? So he's another guy that he gets fired, he's still getting paid. So he probably is trying to give Mike McDaniel every opportunity he can to prove that he can still be the head coach, and because he obviously didn't lose the locker room. You don't win against Buffalo the way you did and still fight and win against Washington the way you did if you've lost the locker room. But I think what Stephen Ross is doing is he's trying to give Mike McDaniel every opportunity he possibly can to prove, like, look, I can turn this ship around. You just got to give me the right personnel. Now, again, this next 6 games, if they go like 7 wins on the season, I think he's gone.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, you said Mike, remember Mike when he first got here, I always said he came in to be the coach of Tua Tagovailoa and not the Miami Dolphins. Now it's like bigger picture here. How does he have the fabric to be the head coach? But he's the one who said, hey, wait a minute, we don't need offensive linemen. We need fast guys. I see what Tua can do. I watched 170 plays of him doing this. So, but part of that's on Chris for letting the coach decide, dictate how the roster should be built. But I want to, and shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys. If you have any questions for Doug, please send them in. Come over to YouTube with us. Hit that thumbs up and like button. We're here with DouglieDoWrong. All right, so you mentioned Mike, and you mentioned something that something I've been wrestling with and playing around in my head when everybody talks about, this team hasn't quit on Mike, and that's the reason he should stay. I think both things can be true here. They didn't quit on him, and he's still not the right head coach because I think players like him. I think players are in elevated positions in this team that they wouldn't be anywhere else. Like even a Jordan Brooks is not given the leadership locker room number one guy, rah-rah guy on an organization that's going to the Super Bowl. Like that, there's players here who think they can get paid too, and it's Miami, and it's a country club environment. I think question is not that with Mike. To me, is does he have the fabric to be a head coach? But this notion that they didn't quit on Mike, so he should stay, I think both can be true. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, also players play for themselves. Players play for each other. So, we've seen teams quit on their coach, Joe Philman, Cam Cameron. Like we've seen it. But also you can have players essentially, play for each other and also play for a future contract. Some of these guys are going to be free agents, so they need, that's why tanking, people saying, oh, so-and-so's tanking, and NFL players don't tank because you put that out there and you put that on the film that you're tanking and you're not giving 100%. Teams, your next team sees that and they're not going to sign you to a contract or give you the money that you want. So, if you want to tank, you just add less talented players. So, this team has talented players on it and they're playing for each other and they're playing for their future contracts. And some of them are, yes, still playing for Mike McDaniel.
Yeah. And it's when you say tank, it's difficult. It's so hard. We can have when we saw it in 2019, you can have the plan, but everything else has to go. These players are going to play. They're going to play to win the game. It's a dangerous sport. You can't go out there and half-ass it. You get hurt. Their resume is on the field playing except for the next contract. It's very hard to tank. It happens. Sometimes the teams that tank end up with the 8th pick, and the teams that just they're not planning on taking end up picking number 1. It's just it happens organically. But I think it doesn't matter about what draft position you have. When I say winning or losing, it's not because of the draft position. It's the fundamental of finding the guy who picks the groceries right. Because if you want, you go find the quarterback. Be aggressive. Have conviction in a guy and you go get him. Or look at the Ravens. All these teams that drafted well, Doug, they haven't picked in the top 5. It's taking a draft position unless there's a unbelievable, can't miss franchise quarterback. And even then, sometimes you get it wrong. I don't think important where you're drafting is the biggest thing, right? Like it's a little overrated.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, You look at those teams like the Ravens, like the Chiefs, like all of these teams, the Eagles, Howie Roseman. You look at these teams and they're not drafting in the top, really. They'll get there once and then they won't get there again. And then they're consistently winning while also consistently getting Nolan Carters and all these players later in the draft. They just know how to assess talent, right? Kansas City Chiefs are sitting there and they assess talent and they pick a quarterback that no one's talking about. They trade up to get said quarterback that no one's talking about. And now that quarterback is a future Hall of Famer in Patrick Mahomes. Like, no one was talking about Patrick Mahomes in the year that the Kansas City Chiefs with Alex Smith decided to trade up and get him. So, that if you like a guy, you go up and get him. It's not about where you pick, it's about who you pick. And getting the Rams as well. The Rams gave up how much draft capital, screw it, screw the draft picks, and they won that Super Bowl. And they're now one of the I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now. And
they're so underrated. They're just there every year. It's crazy,
Yeah,
we tried to ram it. We tried to ram it. We tried to do it. But you gotta like hit on your middle. You know how many players they hit on in the middle rounds and their coaching staff. Like we tried to do both. We tried to do it like the tank way, and then we couldn't do either one. But yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, and how many? Again, this is why in my mind Chris Greer should have been fired. The man had like 20-something first and second round picks, spent about $800 million on free agency. You got to get the right guy in charge that knows how to assess talent. It's not about, hey, we need to, have a top 5 pick to get so-and-so. It's about having the right guys in place to assess the talent. I think that's why the Dolphins not only fired Chris Greer, but they also fired 2 gentlemen that have been with the organization since the 90s in an assessment role and a scouting role, because they noticed we're not drafting well. And if you want to be consistent and you want to continue to win and have success, you have to be able to draft well, because you can't keep going out and buying free agents.
Yeah, and it's a great point you said. That's huge. To me, that's as big as Greer getting rid of. Those guys have been in the organization a long time, as long as Greer. And if you're going to ask me if I can only remove one thing, it's the scouting department. They need a bomb, and they need a fresh eyes. The league has changed, fresh assessment, fresh voices. That gives me confidence, at least, that the scouting department, to me, is, if you guys be Mike or the scouting and personnel department, I'm going Mike and getting rid of the scouting department. That was huge, right, Doug? Those 2 guys, long time in the organization, long time. But I believe they were there as long as the Greer. So yeah, and Lo-Fi says find the GM, find the quarterback and the GM. The head coach will follow. Don't think any big names come till we draft a quarter. We have a quarterback, but draft position gives them access there. Well, that's funny. Shout out to Jeff Lo-Fi. How you doing, buddy? Big contributor to the show. So, to me, the most important decision that Ross hasn't made is hiring the right guy. That's the biggest thing to me, and it's interesting. You keep both, because it's a weird year next year. 26 is weird. It's like probably going to get younger, probably going to get rid of more veteran guys. Don't know if it's the quarterback here, right? So no top candidate. If you're gonna hire a guy, no top candidate's going to come in here and inherit Mike.
Yeah,
and to me, if you keep Champ, or if you keep Mike, keep Champ, or keep both for one more year, because honestly, with Mike, Champ is kind of like, remember the Dennis Hickey stuff? Champ is probably your best candidate. He's in that tier if you keep Mike McDaniel, because it's a funky 26 year. Your thoughts on that, on the right guy, and you have to either blow it up to get the best guy, or to me, keep both for that one more year.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation, right? Because as an owner, you want to get for me, I think, say you keep Mike McDaniel, which again I'm not for, but say you keep Mike McDaniel, you have to get the best general manager you can, right? If it's Hallaby, if it's whoever you honestly think is the best GM that will turn this franchise around and knows how to scout and knows how to do all these things and has connections. That is also the biggest thing that people forget about with getting a GM. They have to have connections. Now, Champ Kelly, we don't know much about him, but he has connections. Like, people know about him.
Yeah.
You need that GM that has that, so you can make the trade, so you can talk to people, so all this stuff can happen, and you have an ear on the situation of the NFL. Because bring in a GM, have the GM, and now if you want to keep Mike, because you have to make that decision quick, right? Because you can't go out and find a GM and then all of a sudden it's like the February whatever, and we're still looking for a head coach because we have our GM. All those head coach candidates are gone, right? You want to get your GM and your head coach quickly so you're set up. So say we get a GM and we keep Mike. You have to let that GM know, like, look, you do what you need to do this year. You do what you need to do with the cap space. You do what you need to do with the team. I don't expect to have winning product on the field in 2026. You're facing the NFC North, which is a hard division, and you're facing the AFC West, which is a hard division. So next year is going to be a hard schedule, even though things change. And I talk about that all the time. Never look at the strength of schedule. Never look at all these things. Things change. Like these last 6 games were supposed to be a juggernaut. The Ravens, Bills, Washington game was supposed to be a juggernaut. And things change. But we are facing the NFC North and the AFC West, which are 2 of the best divisions in football right now. You don't play great, right? Then all of a sudden you fire Mike McDaniel. You got your cap situation under control. And 2027 is a much better draft when it comes to quarterbacks.
Everything.
Because Dante Moore's probably going back. Lenore Sellers is going back. Arch Manning is definitely going back. I never thought he was going to come out of the draft.
Yeah,
Manning's always stay for 4 years. So it's a good year, 2027, to find that guy. And the only way they move on from Tua is if they somehow find somebody who wants him, and then they convert his money into signing bonuses so they can move on from him. But to me, that's what I see 2026 as, unless you fire Mike McDaniel. Then all of a sudden, maybe you can pull something together. You can find the right head coach because, again, you found the GM that has the connections. That's the other thing. You get that GM that has the connections. You get that GM who people respect and know. Oh, like, again, Halley. Oh, he's worked with Grossman for years. And Grossman knows what he's doing. Head coaches would want to come. He's going to get me who I need. He's going to make sure I have a roster that I can win with. Then you get that right head coach. You can possibly pull, a 2008 Dolphins, a 2024 Washington Commanders, where you flip it around. A lot of things are on the table, so it all depends.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. You said if you keep Mike and hire a GM, to me, you're not going to get a Halaby with Mike McDaniel. I just don't see these guys. These guys are the top candidates. They're getting their one shot. They're not going to ride, because I think if Mike comes back, I think Tua's back, and kind of as a one more year, kind of let's give it a go. So honestly, would you be opposed if you're going to give it one more year and eventually just kicking the can down? But we know what's going to happen. We just might as well just bring Kelly back, because I think I want them tied together. The quarterback, the head coach, the GM tied together, not one going out here. We'll give you 1 year with McDaniel, because you agree though, you're not getting the best candidate if you keep him Mike, right, Doug? Like, you're not getting a Halaby, you're getting a Champ Kelly, basically, right? And got it, right? Like, you're not getting the best candidate.
Yeah, that's how you got Mike McDaniel, because you didn't fire Chris Greer. So Mike. A lot of people say too, like, oh, I want to see what Mike McDaniel can do with a quarterback of his choosing. Tua was his choosing. He would not have gotten the head coaching job. He would have not gotten a head coaching job if he didn't hitch himself to Tua. Like, that is his choosing. Tua was his quarterback. So, I hear that a lot. Oh, let's give Mike McDaniel his quarterback and let's see what he can do. He had one head coaching interview. He came in, he said, I could fix Tua. Tua's my guy. Tua this. Had a whole full court press on Tua, calling him on the plane. Tua's his quarterback. He hitched himself to him. He got a head coaching job because of Tua. So he's going to ride with Tua. He's going to crash with Tua. And unfortunately, he's going to crash with Tua.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Toes. No, Big Toes. We actually had a show yesterday with draft analyst Justin Mello, and he mentioned the Duke quarterback. He likes him a lot. He thinks he's underrated. So check that episode. We talk about all the quarterbacks and his top 25 he dropped. And shout out to everybody in the chat that's in the chat. We have DouglieDoWrong with us on this Tuesday, Thanksgiving week. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and follow the show. Come on over to YouTube and show us some support in the chat as well, and ask Doug some questions. You mentioned Tua, and you mentioned the big cap hit. Is there a world for you, right? Whether you bring in a new GM or whatever, or you keep Mike, or especially if you don't keep Mike, is there a world you just eat the money? You're just like, I can't. We got to move on. We got to rip the Band-Aid off and we don't know if they're going to draft the quarterback, right? We think it's not a good year, but who knows how it plays out. I don't know if Tua could be the Alex Smith type guy. I think he's a little bit too much of a distraction. And I don't know if he's that kind of mentor. I mean, you've heard him make some comments in his press conference. It's almost as bad as some of his play throughout the year. But would you consider that? And do you think Tua is a kind of guy where if you drafted, I don't know, Simpson, or if Moore comes out in that Alex Smith role? Because I don't see it.
I like Tua. I think Tua is a good quarterback. I know a lot of people don't think Tua is a good quarterback. Tua's not a bad quarterback.
No.
Statistically, his play on the field, he's not bad. He's not elite. He's not top 10. And at this point, I'm not even putting him in top 15. He's not going to take the Dolphins to where they need to be. And I said the same thing, 7 years ago about Ryan Tannehill. And when the year that we traded him, I said the same thing. I said, he's not bad. He's a good quarterback. He'll win you games. So with Tua, if he does stay, which there's a good possibility that he stays because of his contract, he could be that guy. He has worked with Skyler. He has worked with, Ewers. He has worked with these guys. So he can be that guy. But my biggest problem with Tua, and it has always been, I've talked about this, I think, since 2021. And every year I do my expectations. So it's all out there on film. He's inconsistent. He's very inconsistent. His injuries, and he's inconsistent. He'll have fantastic games, and then he'll have a bad game. And then we're like, all right, Tua, it's December. We need you to, pull it together, and we need your help to win these games. And he doesn't. And sometimes it's not his fault. But again, you're being paid, top 10 money. We need you to play like a top 10 quarterback. But I think the biggest thing that's happening him this year is his hip. And I think, and I said this again, go watch my prospect video in 2020 and go watch what I said after we drafted him. I don't think he's going to have a full quarterback NFL career because of how severe that hip injury was. And I think that is what's happening now. I think his hip is not allowing him to drive the ball. And you're seeing a lot more rainbow passes. Go watch him throw the ball in 2023 and go watch him throw the ball now. 2023, he was making the throws. He had more accuracy. He had more zip on it, even though it wasn't the zip of Josh Allen, but he had more to his passes in 2023. This year, it's just not there. And I noticed it the first 2-3 games. I'm like, what is up with him? And then, it's his hip. To me, and honestly, I think he plays maybe another 2-3 years, and he might call it quits, because I think it's going to get worse, because we don't know the extent of what happened last year against the 49ers and the Texans, where all of a sudden his hip got hurt and then he was out for a couple weeks. And then, the rumors came out, like, he says, like, if we make the playoffs, I'm playing. What happened to the hip? We never got like a full clarification on that. So I honestly think that it's the hip is starting to deteriorate, and his play is going with it, because you can't drive the ball and you can't throw if your hip is like that, which sucks, because in all honesty, I think if he never hurt his hip, I think Burrow goes 1, he goes 2. I don't think he makes it to 5. And I think he has a completely different career than he does now, because you saw his mobility. He's not Lamar Jackson, but go back and watch his rookie year against the Arizona Cardinals, against the Patriots, where he's running in touchdowns. He was mobile. He broke Buda Baker's ankles. Like, he was a mobile quarterback to an extent. Now, you watch that Washington game, he couldn't break a pass rusher coming after him. Watch 2023. He spins out, he rolls, gets the touchdown. Well, I honestly think it's the hip. I think it's his hip, and I don't think he's going to be the same.
Man, Doug, I promise you we didn't talk about this backstage, but we've been preaching on this on the show. There's a difference this year. There's a clear regression. You said in college he got hurt running. He was never a true big time athlete, but he was obviously he could make the 5, 6, 7 yard run. But clearly, I think we're seeing an old 27-year-old because of the hit. The arm strength was never elite or good, but it was above average. It was good enough. And this year, Doug, it's like something. First of all, it's not only that. It's he has to look comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the hip? It's all we're criticizing, but is it the hip that I can't take a hit? Like, because he's not comfortable. His biggest superpower is throwing guys open. He was waiting for guys to get open. He's a little more comfortable this year. I will say that. But, Doug, I agree with you 100%. I think that hip injury he had, and people said it when he was coming out, he's got 5, maybe 8 years. Mm-hmm. What is he, year 6? You noticed it, right, Doug? Like, there's a clear regression on him. And if his arm is not as strong now, we're talking about a guy, the ceiling has even gone down, right? Like, the floor has always been high, but now the ceiling's lowered. But I see it. It's clear as day, right?
Yeah, you saw the deep balls that he threw against Buffalo, and I think he threw a deep ball against was it the Patriots to Tyreek Hill? Like, he arches his back, and he's not driving his hip, he's not setting his feet, he's not doing it, he's more arm throwing things, and he's sailing the balls, and they're the interceptions that he's throwing, especially against the Colts, where he's overthrowing receivers, is because he's sailing the passes. And I honestly think it's the hip. And normally a quarterback in the NFL, especially today's NFL, where you can't even touch him on the top of the helmet, will play. Tua's play, which again, he's not bad, but he's not elite, so he's a very sound, good quarterback. That play will get you minimum 13 years in the NFL. I don't know if he makes it to 10.
Yeah, and even 8 to 12, if you're a high-end backup from year 9 to 13, yeah, I honestly agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that Washington game, to me, I don't know about you, I left thinking, man, like, that's the difference of an elite quarterback. Some of these plays, the one play you needed to make. He's not – you said it best. I mean, his ceiling is an elite game manager. I think you're seeing – honestly, now with the play action, the running game, which I don't understand why Mike never started out like this. I think he just wanted to get his mandate was, let's make sure Tua looks like an MVP candidate and improve the league wrong. Again, coaching Tua Tagovailoa, not the Dolphins. But he's not an aircraft carrier. There's about 4 or 5. And to me, if you want to win consistently in this league, you keep taking shots to find the aircraft carrier, not the guy who's going to ride along. I mean, Tua, at his best, I agree, is a elite game manager, but yeah, I couldn't agree more, Doug. I mean, it's like we talk backstage because it's exactly my same sentiments. All right, I want to talk about something fun you did. I saw your interview with Devon A.J., man. First of all, how cool is that, man? You know what I mean? I mean, that's like when you're like, I'm 13-year-old Doug here. You know what I mean? I'm interviewing Devon A.J. Obviously on Toronto Armstead show. Before I get into A.J., just man, how cool is that? What did you take away from it? Like, what kind of talking to the guy, the NFL player, Devon A.J.?
So I have a funny story about that.
Okay,
so I did the Dolphin Collective from 6 to 7 that day. And normally, my wife is like, at this point, she's like 8 months pregnant. So
man.
I try my best to help her. I got a 4-year-old who's going to be turning 5. So I put her to bed every chance I can. She goes to bed at like 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, I tell my wife, hey, Collective was moved up from 6 to 7. I can put her to bed tonight. You can relax. Don't even worry about it. So she's all happy. And I'm up there. I get a text from Toronto Armstead. I look at my phone. He goes, you free tonight at 8:30? And in my head, I'm like, no, I got to put my daughter to sleep, give my wife a break. I said, no, unfortunately, I'm not tonight. I am, Wednesday or Thursday if you need me. He goes, you're going to want to move whatever you're doing. And he just sends me the eyes. And I'm like, Teron, you can't be doing that. I need to know details. I got, and my wife is sitting here like, what's going on? So I'm like, what is going on? You have to tell me. And then all he says is Devon A.J. So I look at my wife, and my wife's like, yeah, go do what you gotta do. It's fine.
You're probably like, wife, sorry, I gotta go.
She understands. Like, she totally understood. So being able to sit and talk with Devon A.J. and talk football with him, which, a lot of people thought I was nervous. I wasn't nervous. I was being respectful of Teron Armstead. It was his show. So it was a lot of me just letting Teron do his thing and letting those two, former teammates talk, because they had inside jokes and talking about going to Dubai and then talking about this and that. So I was kind of just like, I'll throw my 2 cents in when I had the chance, but being able to talk football with him and talk formations, and then I was able to ask him the whole juking in between the guard and the center, which is ridiculous. He was able to do that, and he was like, if I was a linebacker, I ain't doing it. Like being able to talk football with and it's not even like he's a practice squad player, and not knocking practice squad players. I'd love to talk to anybody.
There's different levels.
But he is the 4th best running back in the NFL right now, even though some websites don't even have him top 10. Being able to talk with him was fantastic. Be able to have conversations with Teron Armstead and get texted by him is also ridiculous. So it's like, that going from where I was in 2018 to seeing where I am now, it blows my mind. Incredible. Like it honestly, if I could go back in time and tell my 2018 self, hey, look, you're going to have insider information. You're going to be working with Alan Pupar and Omar Kelly, and you're going to be doing all this stuff. I'd be like, shut up. There's no way. So
awesome,
it's crazy.
It's all, forget the fact that you're going on Teron Armstead show to talk to Devon A-Chain. Like
exactly. It's the cherry on the top of that sundae.
And by the way, if you were nervous, that's okay. I probably would be a little nervous too.
Oh, well, like don't get me wrong. You don't want to say anything stupid. I didn't want to bring up contract talks. Like that's the other thing. A lot of people will say like, why didn't you ask hard hitting questions?
Oh, no,
listen, man, this is the first time I'm talking to him. I can't be going in there talking about like, all right, dude, what do you think about Tua's hip? And do you think Tua sucks? And because then all of a sudden he's not going to want to talk to me again. You gotta build a friendship so you can ask hard hitting questions.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think, McDaniel? Has he lost the locker room?
Exactly. Are you guys playing for McDaniel? Do you want him fired?
If Teron wants to do it, go ahead.
Exactly. Teron can talk to you. Noticed how they, calling Waddle ski and stuff, and I'm sitting there again. I'm like, who the hell are they? He was like, yes, he said this and da da da, and I'm sitting there, and if you notice me, I'm like, who the hell Ski? Like Mike Gesicki's not on the team anymore. Like what is going on? And then he's like, no, Ski. For anyone who wanted to know, Ski is Waddle, and I'm like, oh, like I'm literally like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, showing some love for Doug. Awesome path. Yeah, congrats. Yeah, Doug is fantastic, and people don't realize how much work you put in, Doug. And I know. I mean, you're one of the reasons I got into this is because of C, and I know one of the examples of the hard work. I can notice because when you put on a show, what it takes and how hard it is and all the stuff you put out there. But all right. So you mentioned A-Chain. We obviously mentioned you interviewed A-Chain, but let's talk about his on the play field because he seems like he's taking it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what is the thing? Is he showing you now? Like people worried about Devon, like can he run up the middle? Like I've always thought coming out, he was so underrated between the tackles. He's really good. He's got really good vision in between the tackles. Do you believe this guy's okay now, guy 15, 20 times a game, even if, because people say we don't want to use him like that, but is that maybe you have to give him that many touches? Do you believe he proved that this year that he can get ball 20 times a game on a consistent level?
Yeah, I would say 20 is a nice cap for A-Chan to get the ball. I don't want to run him into the ground because of, just how talented he is and how, versatile he is. Teron asked him, if they asked you to play slot full time, would you? And he's like, yeah, I would do it in a heartbeat. I didn't also realize how short he was. He's only 5'9". So apparently, Waddle and Tyreek are taller than him. But no, I'm not gonna, this is an extreme, but I'm not gonna run him like Dave Wanstead did to Ricky. Right. Ricky took like 40 carries a game. Like but having a nice 1-2 punch with him and Ollie is perfect. It's absolutely perfect because then you have them both on the field, and it's my favorite formation. They started doing it, I think, against Buffalo, and it is hands down one of my favorite formations that Mike McDaniel drew up, where they're in the pistol, and you have Tua, and then you have Brunskill to his right, you have A-Chan to his back, and then to the right of Brunskill is Ollie Gordon. I love that pistol formation because at one point, right, you have that formation and Brunskill runs in front of Tua. He blocks his guy. They pitched it out and he got a nice gain. If Borum held his block a little longer, it might have been a touchdown. But like later in the game, they switched Ollie Gordon and Brunskill. So Ollie's now to Tua's right. Brunskill is to Ollie's right. And instead of pitching it to A-Chan, they handed it off to Ollie. So again, it's just, this is where Mike McDaniel is good, is this concept of, I'm going to run the same play a bunch of times, but then all of a sudden I'm going to move some things around and it's going to mess you up. So being able to have that 1-2 punch with Achane and Ollie, it keeps Achane's career longevity, but also it keeps the defense on their toes. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, and that, to me, that's a crazy part. This is Mike McDaniel's strength, is his run concept. His pass concepts to me are kind of basic. Like Brunskill in motion, Brunskill at fullback, faked up. It's just he creates. You never know where they're running from. And the 22, I think there's somebody said in the chat, the big jumbo 22 personnel. If you watch that, I love when they take a shot to Waddle on that 22 personnel because it's there. It's either Tua misses him, Waddle drops it, or the play happens. It's there. It's there. But you agree, Doug? Like, I just think Mike's biggest mistake was not starting this way, getting the big talented offensive, finding his, who's the lineman that the 49ers had, the elite with the Redskins, right? Trent Williams. Finding that, Sewell, these kind of guys. This is why I think Mike, because Mike, when he gets in his bag in the running game, dude, it's nasty. The problem is he panics when he's down and he abundance it. Go ahead.
And see, I bring this up a lot about Tua, and I don't feel that they built the team around him properly, and that's like my one excuse for Tua. And a lot of people like to push back and say, do you see the weapons he has? And, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and, he got Jonnu. And, what do you mean they didn't build around him? That's not Tua, man. That's not Tua's strengths. Go look at Alabama. Yeah, he had the nice receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle. But Tua's strengths are the RPO, the precision passing, and, the play action. You give Tua a good offensive line. I'm not even talking top 10, man. Just stop giving him bottom 5. Give him a decent offensive line and a run game and watch him cook. That's what we did in the beginning of 2023. And then the offensive line got hurt. And that's what happened at the end of 2023. But, they didn't. And now, again, they're at the point in his career where it's too little too late. Right. And they wasted the opportunity.
For Tua and McDaniel, agree with you 100%. Set up start with the run, set that up set the run over the pass, set the pass up with the run. They did it backwards, and he's so much more comfortable though when he's in play when his ball handling's elite. You see it.
You have RPO, and again with his precision and his accuracy and his anticipation, those linebackers and safeties, they stutter for a second, not knowing if it's a run or not. He's carving you up.
He's got it. The ball's right past their hand. How many times do you see it zip past their feet?
Right past their hand. You give them that second of the, he's got you. Especially when Hill was healthy. He turns around, he goes give it to Achane or Ollie or whoever, Mostert or whoever. Yeah. And those linebackers and safeties take that one step forward and then realize, crap, he got you. And that's what was 2023. But we abandoned it too quick. Once we get down by a score or 10 points, whatever, Mike's like, we're screwed. And he abandons the run. And that's where we get screwed over.
Yeah, and that's Tua's superpower. There's not many quarterbacks that people think, it's almost intercepted. No, man. He put it in a keyhole. So I forget what coach said. Like there's doors, there's window, whatever, there's door knobs, and there's keyhole accuracy. When Tua's on, it's not his accuracy in the drop back, the 5 or 7 step drop. It's that boom, quick, get it out off a play action or a fake toss or whatever you want to do. His ball handling, and he knows where he's going. I know it might sound, people say Tua can't read defenses, but when he knows when it's premeditated, somebody made this point, and I agree. Tua's pre-snap intelligence is much better than his post-snap intelligence. When he knows where it's going, he can put it in a keyhole. And I couldn't agree with you more. And that's what his kind of superpower is. I wish they would have started that a little more. All right, I want to talk about this rookie class because I know people, kind of down on it. We're impatient. I'm starting to see, I don't know about you, the flashes of what I saw with Kenneth Grant a little more in college. I'm pretty confident Grant's going to come on here next year. He's going to be a lot better and an impact player. Jonah, a little more concerned about it, but the positive with Jonah is it's not physical. It's the technique. And maybe he's moved to the left side versus the right. But overall, your thoughts on this class, and of course, Jordan Phillips, Ollie Trader. But start with the top two guys. Your thoughts on this draft class, rookie class so far.
So A lot of people are down on this draft class. I was okay with Kenneth Grant pick. Um, I knew it was an option and I was okay with it because we lost Christian Wilkins, so getting a DT was fine with me. I know, you, they all wanted Warren, and the tight end was there, and look how good he's doing with the Colts. But you got to realize we had Jonnu Smith and we had all these guys. So, I get the BPA, but we also had a huge need at defensive lineman. Now, I also noticed that people are really jumping ship off of Jonah, who I loved drafting Jonah. I was pumped when we traded up to get him. His assessment and what everyone was saying of him coming out of college was, he's can't miss. I'm not ready to give up on him. I always give these draft picks 3 years. It takes a minute also because he's playing at left guard instead of right guard. And from what I'm hearing, he's still having a hard time leading with the left foot versus leading with the right foot, which is a problem when you're going from one side to the other. Some of these younger guys, even Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers, they're starting to come into it. Kenneth Grant, he had a fantastic game against Washington. They're starting to get it. And again, you get these rookies that come in that have instant impacts, and people want that for everyone. Oh, I want this. Oh, look at so-and-so, look at so-and-so, look at so-and-so. There are guys who takes a hot minute. It is what it is. Christian Wilkins, we drafted him, and people wanted Dwayne Haskins that year. They wanted the quarterback, and we took Christian Wilkins. And Christian Wilkins, like midway to his first season with us, wasn't flashy, right? I think he had 1 sack, if that, and people were doing the same thing they're doing for Kenneth Grant. Oh, Christian Wilkins, what a bust. We should have took Dwayne Haskins, or we should have took, and now, he goes to the Raiders. Everyone's like, oh, you should have kept Christian. You should have paid him. We're nothing without him. So let's give these guys like a beat, right? Let's not ready to jettison them, 10 games into their rookie season, because they need time to develop. And it's hard, especially the defensive line. You expect Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald type numbers the rookie years. You're crazy. Go look at those two guys, even some of the best defensive linemen that the Dolphins ever drafted. Jason Taylor, he didn't do much until his second year. So let's pump the brakes and let these guys develop a little bit.
Nick says in the chat, Kenneth Grant started so less, and especially line of scrimmage guys. Phillips had a higher ceiling, Jordan Phillips, because his natural strength. They found something there in that kid. All right, let's play a little fun game here to close it out. It's called the confidence meter. We got some questions for Doug, some rapid fire questions. Little confidence meter graphic. How do you like that, Doug? 1 through 10. All right. Let's start here. How confident are you the Dolphins can get on a streak and win at least 9 games this year? 1 to 10.
4.
I'll go. I'm gonna go. I'm right 4 or 5. I'm right around.
They'll lose. I wouldn't be surprised they lose to the Jets.
Yeah, and chat play along too. Oh yeah, we're not good enough to determine that this game that we're playing is going to be, we're going to win. We could beat the teams we think we're going to lose to, and lose to the teams we think we're going to beat. All right, chat, give me your number as well in the chat. All right, next question: how confident Dolphins make the playoffs?
1.
If there's 0, I'm going 0. How confident are you Tua as a starting quarterback next year?
6.
I'll go 6 or 7. I'm with you. How confident is Tua on the roster?
Run 6.
Oh, so it's either he's either, if he's here, he's starting. I guess there's a world where they bring somebody else in and kind of Tua is the backup. It's probably a low number. That's probably 1 or 2.
Yeah, if he's on the roster, he's starting. So that's my thought. Again, if they can find, if the Saints, the Raiders, even Minnesota, I know Flores is there. If any of these teams want Tua and are willing to give us a 6th, and we can work on his cap hit, I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded.
Yeah, and that's the ideal world. If you could, even if you have to eat some money, because the cap hit's less, and you could probably eat some of that money. I think that's the perfect scenario, because the cap hit, if they just cut him, was it pre-June 1st or post-June? It was like $99 million. The dead money is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Your confidence, Waddle's wide receiver 1 next year?
9.
So any chance you don't think there's a world where they move on him if there's a new GM here, or they get somebody well, I guess it would be in the draft, but I think there's a chance they could move on if they bring a new GM. Kind of wants to do it different.
The only way I could see them trading Waddle is if they get a first for 2026, or big fat or, and I've talked about this a few times, and I get pushback on this. I'm a huge Mike Tomlin fan. So say the Steelers kind of fall apart, you'd have to trade for Mike Tomlin, and instead of giving a draft pick, trade Waddle for Mike Tomlin. But I don't think that happens.
I love Mike Tomlin.
I think Waddle is your number one, and he's proven time and time again when Tyreek's not on the field, he can be number one. So I'm very high on that.
How confident are you they lock up Devon A-Chain this offseason?
3.
What do you want the number to be? More like
10.
8 or 9? Look, I was looking at the James Cook contract, 4 for 48. Offering that, like, would he take that? Well, for a running back, it's a running back, but he's more of a weapon. Like 4 for 52, if you want to make it look nice. You know?
He kept saying he's gonna, these running backs are getting paid. That's what he kept saying. So he's probably gonna want to get paid, which as he should, man. You're using him as a wide receiver and a running back. You might as well pay him like one.
How confident you are Austin Jackson back at right tackle next year?
4.
I'm at like 2. How confident are you Champ Kelly is back?
4.
Okay.
I think he's in the interviewing process, but I think they will cast a bigger net because it needs to be done. And if they can get someone better, I think they will. Because Stephen Ross, he loves to get the flashy free agents. He also likes to get the flashy GMs and head coaches. So if he can get one, I think
these offseason decisions are going to be fascinating. It's not about personnel. To me, it's about the coaching and front office decisions that are going to be fascinating. Same question. Mike McDaniel, confidence he's back next year?
4. I think I put them in the same boat.
That's the toughest one for me. I do go back and forth, Doug. All the time I'm trying to read the tea leaves, but they change. My gut says there's no way they can bring it back next year, man. That's my gut, but I agree with you. I'm like 3 or 4 there. How confident are you in Stephen Ross to make the right decision?
3.
You're being nice. You're being nice. I'm gonna go based on past history, 0, and he's only had one decision to make: find the right guy on the organization. All right, here's a couple fun ones. How confident are you that size or what Thanksgiving's all about?
10.
What's your give me the sides that have to be there? Give me an overrated and underrated side.
Stuffing, mashed potatoes have to be there. I used to love string bean casserole. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. If it's there, fantastic. I'll eat it. If not, I love cranberry sauce, but the cranberry sauce in the can. I better see the rings in that cranberry sauce.
The Ocean Spray.
I'm a dark meat guy, and mostly a turkey's all white meat, so it's like that's why I'm like hit or miss with that.
You got to get like the drum stare or whatever. How confident are you Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
I wish Jason was here.
Oh, yeah, I know. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. But I was like, Jason's actually at what he could.
When you talk to Jason about this, ask him, right? I think Die Hard is an action movie that's based during Christmas, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't say it's a Christmas movie. I think it's taking place during Christmas. But ask him tomorrow. You can record this and play it at the time. Ask him if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, is Gremlins a Christmas movie? And if he says yes to Gremlins, then he's consistent.
Dude, my brother asked me that same question about it. He's like, is that because there's so many of these that are they? It goes beyond Die Hard. But yeah, I'm gonna record this clip, play it. Jason, this is for you for tomorrow night show. We're gonna have a fun Thanksgiving special. Tomorrow night. Doug, I know you got to get out of here, pick up your daughter from school. I appreciate your time, man. Let's do it again at least once more before the season ends or in the off season.
Yes, sir.
Plug what you got going on. I know you got a bunch of stuff going on with the collective and your own channel.
Yeah, check me out, youtube.com/DouglieDoWrong. Also on the Dolphin Collective. Also, go check out Teron Armstead. I work with him at least once a month. I'm trying my best to prop him up and bring as many people his way as I possibly can. Go check out the Devon A. Chan conversation. It was a very good one. And if you haven't yet, go subscribe to all the content. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah. So now the chat's already. Jordan is giving his 8-3. We appreciate it, guys. Subscribe to Doug. Also, guys, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe here to Fins Faithful. We got more Dolphin content coming for you. Smash that like and subscribe button. We appreciate you coming on joining us on this Tuesday. Doug, have a happy, healthy, safe Thanksgiving, man.
You too, bud.
We will talk to you again, and all the best wishes. And thanks again. Stay safe. Fins up. We're out.
Fins up.